Good morning, kids. How are you doing? It's another beautiful Saturday in the month of August 2024. And I would say it's been a very, very beautiful holiday so far. We started the holiday about 2 weeks, for some people 2 weeks ago, for some people last week. And I know that you've been trying your best to be good boys and good girls, finding something productive to do. So far, so good. Who really want to learn. This is Smart Brains. My name is FAVOUR OLURUNTOLA. Well. I would say that it was a fantastic time with you last year. Done. The winners from last week will be announced. But then if you did not join us last week, Saturday, I'm going to do a quick recap of what we started to learn. For the next 3 weeks, like I said, we'll be, dealing with the Brave Hunters by my Nigerian folklores. It was, done and produced by that great woman. And I would like you to listen to the story, so you're going to learn one or two things.
I'm the brain bee for this week. Keep listening to Smart Brains with FAVOUR on Solutions 93.9 FM.
tuntun kan láàrin wa lọ́la. Ó tóbi ju gbogbo yín lọ o. Kò dé kí n sọ èdè kan náà pẹ̀lú wa. Ajá, kí ló dé? Fi Àjọkẹ́ sílẹ̀. Ó mà dàbí ẹni pé wàhálà díẹ̀ wà. Ajá ò fẹ́ràn àwọn bèbí. Mo dẹ̀ rò pé àwọn bèbí ni ò ní fẹ́ràn ajá. Kí ni màá ṣe o?
You're listening to Smart Brains.
Àgbà Ọlọ́run ló rán mi sí lórí ohun ọwọ́ mi ò tó máa fi gò ìtẹ́lọ́rùn.
Ìtẹ́lọ́rùn Baba, well, remember there was a time that we spoke about contentment on the program, and I know that by this time you must have, gotten content with everything that your mom is giving. Somebody that's once she finishes eating by 8 o'clock, 11 o'clock like this, she's already hungry. And then
Multi Ventures ní ẹ jẹ́ kán supply gbogbo àwọn nǹkan tẹ́ lò tó jẹ́ electronics ojúlówó ní tiwọn bẹ́ẹ̀ la tún ṣe installation á tún fún yín ní guarantee lórí àwọn nǹkan tẹ́ ẹ bá rà lọ́dọ̀ wa olú-ilé-iṣẹ́ R Ọlábẹ́mi showroom ní number 3 Gbàdàmọ́sí complex Ìwó Road Ìbàdàn 0803 325 0185 àti 0805-779-0041. débẹ̀ confam làwọn.
pè yín lọ́gàá nítorí wípé ẹ mọ bí owó ṣe ń ṣiṣẹ́ fún yín ni àgàgà bí ẹ ṣe ń pinnu àti ṣe ọrọ̀ ajé pẹ̀lú
It's story time. Story. It's story time. Story. It's story time on Smart Brains. Let's hear some stories on Smart Brains. It's story time.
Once upon a time in a faraway kingdom, people of this kingdom lived peacefully. It rained in due season, therefore the farmers were happy in the kingdom. Fishermen, hunters, traders, housewives, and even the children of evil forest that no ordinary was decided that the Oluwade, that is, the head hunter of the kingdom, be given the task to gather the bravest of hunters with strange and extraordinary powers to go on this mission. Saddled with this responsibility, Odetogun, the head hunter, had to go from one village to another in search of hunters who were extraordinarily strange and powerful. Although it was a very difficult task, it wasn't impossible, for he encountered several challenges as he journeyed through the villages in search of brave hunters. And it took him several weeks to gather his team of exceptional hunters. The first village in the kingdom the Oluwade visited was Imodimoson, which happened to be Olowunyo's home. And by the time he got to this village, it was almost getting dark. Odetogun knew precisely where Olowunyo resided in this village, so he didn't need anyone to give him directions to where he was heading. People of that village had sang far and wide. He wasn't called Olowunyo for nothing. In fact, the true meaning of his name is the one with a sonorous voice. It was said of him that when he goes on a hunt, he'll usually go with only his flute because his voice and the melody he makes with his flute were his major charm. His voice was so magical that when he sings, trees would sway from side to side as though dancing to the sound of his voice. Even his prey of targets will come dancing to him like a pet. Attention as he got closer to Olowunyo's abode. First off, he wasn't the only one drawn towards the direction of the song he was hearing. Secondly, the trees swayed from side to side. Even the gentle breeze around him seemed to dance in compliance with the same direction as though guiding him to where Olowunyo was seated as he sang his lyrics so melodiously before an enchanted audience.
Shere irele erena igbe ebibi okudu agemo ogun owena owawa belu ope. Shere irele erena igbe ebibi okudu agemo ogun owena owawa belu ope.
Before long, Olowunyo stopped his musical show to salute his visitor.
Ẹ káàbọ̀.
And so, Odetogun related the king's message to him and he agreed to go on the mission. The next village Odetogun had to visit to get another one of the strongest and bravest hunters of the kingdom was Ajanoku's village, and he had to go in the company of Olowunyo for some reasons. One of the reasons is the fact that apart from being a hunter, Ajanoku was a warrior, A fierce one at that. And although there were many strong and brave hunters in this particular village, Ajanoku was the bravest and strongest of them all. In the past, he was one of the warriors that was called upon to defend the kingdom's honor in battle. He had also gone for several competitions outside the village that proved him to be the best. All these, including his magical prowess and charm, made him so fierce that he became feared by most people in his village. Members of his family couldn't stand his fury whenever he gets angry because, according to them, his anger was in similitude to that of Shango Olukoso, the god of thunder. It was even rumored that he just might be one of the great-grandsons of Shango. Just so you better understand Ajanaku's fury, you may need to hear the story of Shango Olukoso, also known as Obakoso. Shango was a very powerful king in the kingdom of Oyo. With a towering height, he was dark in complexion and strikingly handsome. He had 3 wives, namely Oba, Oshun, and Oya. Even before becoming the 3rd Alaafin of the Oyo Empire, Shango was a dominant, fierce, and brave warrior. He was vast in magic and had gained mastery of many charms and potions, which made the people of his kingdom perceive him to be a supernatural being. But then, anger was his strength as well as his weakness. In fact, it was his bane. It was said that when he got angry, fire will come out of his mouth and eyes. Shango wasn't much of a lover. However, he cared for his wives, for they were no ordinary beings themselves. Oba was an excellent bata dancer like Shango. Oshun was the most beautiful of his 3 wives and an excellent cook, while Oya was the most powerful of the 3 wives and a shapeshifter, for she could change in body form from an animal to a human and from a human into an animal. Some even said that it was the combination of her powers and that of Shango's that brought about lightning and thunder, for she was very powerful indeed. Nevertheless, Oshun happened to be the most favored wife of Shango because of her cooking. As the saying goes, the way to a man's heart, whether it was her turn to cook or not. This made Oba very jealous of her, for she thought that she should be the one to have that right over their husband, being the first wife. She tried all she could to make Shango appreciate her food, but it seemed as though the spell of Oshun's food and the allure of her beauty was much too strong to break. One day, Oba did the unimaginable thing. She went to her rival, Oshun, for help in getting their husband's attention. And so she said, "Our husband prefers only your food. Please tell me, I beg of you, your secrets." Oshun was taken aback by Oba's foolishness. How can a woman be stupid enough to think that her rival will be willing to tell her the secret of her success? Ridiculous indeed, she thought to herself. So she pretended to be nice and told Oba a lie, saying, "You would have noticed by now that I cannot do without wearing a scarf over my head. And this scarf would always cover my ears." "Why is this so?" Oba asked. "It is so because I cut snippets of my ears into my soup so that my husband can always love me." Oba's eyes widened in surprise to Oshun's strange revelation. Could this be true? She thought to herself. How interesting. The next day, as Oba set out to cook for Shango, she cut off one of her ears and covered her head with veil in hope that by doing this, Oshun's spell over their husband will instantly be broken and his full attention turn to her forthwith. And so it was that when Oba served him upon his return, Shango noticed a strange meat in his soup.
What type of meat is this?
He asked. Then Oba responded to him saying, Oluwami, so that you can love me the most, I have cut off my ear and put it in your food.
Are we cannibals?
Shango roared in a rage. On hearing their husband's reaction to Oba's folly, Oshun ran out of the house in order to escape Oba's revenge and Shango's wrath. In a burst of emotions, she turned into a river, hence becoming a river goddess. Feeling betrayed by her rival, Oba escaped from Shango's presence to pursue after Oshun. And seeing that Oshun had turned into a river, she also turned into a river to continue her fight, thus becoming a river goddess too. This is why you see these two rivers clash till date. A hungry man, they say, is an angry man. Coupled with the thoughts of suspicion he had that one of his wives had attempted to poison him, Shango was mad with rage on this particular day. He got so furious that everything around him, his entire house, including his sacred room where he had kept all his charms and potions, especially Oya's 4, which she used in shape-shifting, all caught fire. When Oya saw all that had happened, she ran to Ira Forest and there turned into a river. This river, which today is known as the River Niger. Alas, as he watched all his possessions go up in flames, he felt a deep sense of regret, loss, and defeat. And in the end, he hung himself. The reason he is referred to as Olukoso or Obakoso, which is short for how the Yorubas say Oba Topokunso, meaning the king who hung himself. He was deified as the god of thunder because he was believed to command thunder and lightnings. It was the symptoms of Shango's kind in order to protect the villagers, most especially his family, from getting hurt. The Bale of Ajamasa village ruled that he should have a separate hut far from everyone. Therefore, he lived in a distant corner of the village.
Is it Ajanaku you see?
Asked one of the villagers from whom Odetogun and Olunyo requested directions to Ajanaku's hut.
Okay, that was the story from last week, Saturday, the beginning of the story. And I remember 3 questions from the story. And then I had a lot of people, sending in their text message. We first had a first session on air where I asked a lot of people questions, but sending a text message before 12:05, and I got at least 6 or 5 responses from you. I'll be taking that one as well. Now, the first question that I asked was, who was related to Ajanoku? Who was Ajanoku related to? Now, the person Ajanoku was related to, he had 3 wives. What and what and what are the names of the wives? And the last question that I asked was, the person Ajanoku is related to, what was his strength and his weakness? I'm still going to put you in suspense to know who and who got that. Let's continue with the story this morning. Well, they've already got into Ajamasa village where
About Ajanoku, they were both surprised.
Isn't he the same Ajanoku I used to know?
Odetogun said, musing over what the woman had told them. They later found Ajanoku in front of his hut with his Dane gun held in hand by his side, butt to the ground, his other hand akimbo as though in readiness to fight with someone. Apparently, earlier on before they got to his hut, then suddenly he sensed that someone had mentioned his name, and as a warrior, his instincts instantly set him on guard in form of defense. What is this I'm sensing? I think someone is about to encroach my territory, he thought to himself, and then he began to speak in a loud voice.
Who dares enter the lion's den? Who is it that dares to invade my privacy? I, Ajanoku, the bravest and strongest hunter and warrior of Ajamasa village. He who sees me doesn't know me. He who knows me hasn't seen me as yet. I, who the elephant upon seeing it takes to his heels. Even the lion, king of the jungle, pays obeisance to me. I, Ajanoku, Erujeje, who is now most feared in the entire village of Ajamasa. So much so that I am even scared of myself. Who is it?
At this hunter, Odetogun, approaching in the company of someone who he perceived to be a hunter as well. Instantly, Olowunyo responded to Odetogun's signal to start singing.
Àìkú ajé ìṣẹ́gun ọjọ́rú ọjọ́bọ̀ ẹtì àbámẹ́ta. Àìkú ajé ìṣẹ́gun ọjọ́rú ọjọ́bọ̀.
Few minutes later, Odetogun noticed that Ajanoku seemed to have calmed down a bit. Earlier on, he had been frightened by the expression he saw on Ajanoku's face. Ajanoku turned out to be more aggressive than he remembered him to be. Nonetheless, the king's message had to be delivered. As the saying goes, "Ẹni rán níṣẹ́ là á bẹ̀rù, àì bẹ̀rù ẹni à á jẹ fún." Later that evening, the three of them were seated around a campfire in front of Ajanoku's hut as they recounted the past events in their lives. They also lamented the deteriorating state of the kingdom.
I have also noticed the tide of things these past few weeks. These days, I hardly get a game to hunt.
Ajanoku said, reminiscing the good old days.
Indeed, something has to be done about this. Therefore, I feel honored to be a part of this mission,
he concluded.
Well, I still have to go to the other villages to get more hunters to go with us on this mission,
Odetogun declared.
What about Akaraogun, Ajanoku's cousin? Isn't he going with us on this mission?
Olowunyo chipped in.
Of course, he's definitely going with us because I was there when the king sent for him,
replied Odetogun. Akaraogun's fame had spread all over the entire kingdom on account of his adventure in Igbo-Erumole. He had been to the strange forest a few times and survived because he was someone the Yorubas will refer to as Akondaeda, meaning an exceptional creature, son to a very powerful witch of a mother and a very brave hunter of a father. His background played a critical role in the way he turned out in life. His story was well known, for he himself had recounted his experience in this evil forest many times. Akara Ogun was 26 years old the first time he ventured into Igbo to hunt alone. Prior to this time, he had inherited a lot of magic, charms, and potions from his late father, and over the years had grown into a dauntless hunter. Igbo Irumole is one of the forests around the kingdom where a lot of games can be found for hunts. One of the most dreaded forests, in fact. However, it's the closest to the forest around the kingdom where the brave hunters will be sent to get the jeweled box. A forest of demons, gnomes, gourmets, and trolls. Igbo Irumole is indeed a terrible place. It was dusk and already getting dark by the time Akara Ogun got to Igbo Irumole. Tired and worn out from a long walk, he couldn't hunt again that night. So he set up a campfire close to a tree where he roasted a piece of yam from his hunting sack to eat. Later on, he gathered some dry leaves he could find to make a bed to lay on, used his hunting bag for a pillow, loaded his gun, then kept it close by his side. He laid down to rest, but then his sleep was short-lived because he was awakened by the noise from the strange creatures of the forest. They had begun their buying and selling that night. And even though it was the norm for these creatures to roam around day and night in this forest, their most active period of the day is usually very late into the night. It is also during this time that they bring their matters before their ruler. Akara Ogun got scared on hearing these strange noises that he immediately took his gun and hunting bag, then quietly climbed into the tree beside him, the same tree under which he had set up the campfire. Unfortunately for him, this tree happened to be Olurunto, the ruler of the forest, who these creatures had come to meet. Suddenly, a fire started from somewhere around that brightened the base of the tree, and there they were, gnomes, gourmets, goblins, and trolls. No sooner had they arrived than the praise singer began to chant the praises of the Oluribo.
Olorigo, Olorigo, ìwọ lọlọ́jà ìwìn, mo ní ìwọ lọlọ́jà ìwìn, kò sọ́lọ́jà tó dàbí rẹ̀, apá ọmọ aráyé ni wọ́n fi ń jẹyán, gẹ̀ǹgẹ̀ àyà wọn ni wọ́n fi ń jọ̀ka, àtàrí wọn ni wọ́n fi ń mú ẹ̀kọ́, kí ni ọmọ aráyé máa fi ọ́ ṣe? Olorigo, ìwọ ń forí rìn ní dán, mo ní ìwọ ń forí rìn ní dán, nítorí ojú rẹ̀ ń bẹ nídìí rẹ̀, ó ń tanná ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀. Olorigo, àárẹ̀ ṣe ọ́ ní dán, tàbí ètí rí tí ìwọ kò jáde, gbogbo wa retí rẹ̀.
After the praise singer had finished chanting his praises, their ruler, Oluribo, responded with a loud voice that echoed through the entire forest, such that the wild animals were stilled. The birds were awakened from their sleep.
Iná tí ń bẹ lódò ẹsẹ̀, ọwọ́ ọmọ aráyé ni o, olórí igbó ò lè wá mọ́, ẹ wo nǹkan dùgbẹ̀dùgbẹ̀ tí ń bẹ lọ́rùn lókè.
Just then, they all looked up and saw Akara Ogun. Oh my! How delighted they were to discover they now have a prey to share amongst themselves, and so they started jubilating. But whilst they were at it, Akara Ogun remembered a spell he had called Egbe. He used it, and in a flash he vanished from their midst and appeared back home in his room. When he had come to himself after some minutes of sitting down in his room, he was disappointed in himself, so he said to himself,
"What a shame. I am supposed to be a brave hunter, yet I have fled from the first challenge I experienced on my adventure in this evil forest. No way I, Akara Ogun, will go back into Igbo Irumole. I shall face anything that crosses my path. Oh, Edumari, help me to get back.
And as he spoke, he used the Egbe spell again, and instantly he disappeared and appeared back in the forest. But this time, he found himself on a palm tree. Then it began to rain cats and birds, so much so that he was drenched in the heavy rainfall. The rain stopped after a while, so he climbed down from the tree to set a campfire to warm his body and dry up his clothes. He also roasted a piece of yam from his sack to eat and afterwards brought out his pipe for a smoke. Whilst he was at it, enjoying himself, a gomid from a nearby Awusa tree felt disturbed by the smoke coming from his pipe. Grumbling, he said,
These smelly people are at it again. They won't let someone rest.
At first, Akarogun didn't bother about this gommit's statement. Nonetheless, it continued to complain.
Dirty smelly thing. When he wakes, he wants bath. When he pulls, he wants to clean himself. Foul smelling. His entire behind is so dirty.
The gommit grumbled yet again.
You insult me in this life? You dark-looking thing. You who look like a dead frog.
Akarogun retorted angrily.
If care isn't taken, I'll destroy you with fire.
And that was it, for the gommit stopped grumbling and quietly went its way, hissing as it went.
Part 2 is gone and it's over. We started with part 1, and this is the second part of The Brave Hunters by Menaja. From the first person, Deborah Jayoba, you said the first question I asked last week was who was related to Ajanoku? Then the strength and weakness of the person related to Ajanoku. Well, let's see. Oshun, Oya. Number 3, Adigun and Olowiyo. Okay. My name is Ruth. The answer to the question. What does it say? The answer to the question. It said answer to the answer. Number 1, Ajanoku is related to Shango. 2, Oba or Oshun Oya. The strength and weakness of Shango is anger. Odeyaliri Ofe Shango. Second winner, Oyekomi Shama. And the third winner is Ruth. We have 3 winners. The last person did not conclude the question. And Matthew FAVOUR, you just gave me the names of the hunters, which is absolutely not correct. So congratulations to the 3 winners from last week.